I'm going to show you a simple formula when using Dehancer Pro that you can always follow when you want to create that Hollywood cinematic look. It's a bit of a social conditioning, which we unknowingly have. We grew up watching all these movies that were shot on specific film stocks, which give you a certain color, and Dehancer gives you access to these film stocks, which you can use to apply the same color aesthetic to your videos to create that cinematic look. For this tutorial, we are going to work in a Resolve Color Manage workflow. So here we go. I'm going to go to my media pool, and then I'm going to go to my timeline. I'm going to go to timeline settings. Then I'm going to go to color. For color science, set it to DaVinci YRGB Color Managed, and then uncheck automatic color management. Under color processing mode, set it to HDR DaVinci Y Gamma Intermediate. And then for your output color space, I'm going to leave it on Rec. 709 Gamma 2.2. And now I'm going to go to my clips. You want to select your clip. I'll right click. I'll go to input color space, and then I'll go down to red and red Y gamut RGB and log 3G10. If I hit before and after, you can see that nothing is being done to the image, but we do have here a nice Rec. 709 base. If I right click on the clips and I select bypass color management, this basically turns off the Resolve color management and we see the original footage. If I turn this off, we're back to our Rec. 709 base. And from here, we can go ahead and bring in Dehancer and start creating this look. So I'm going to go to my effects. I'm going to bring in Dehancer. I'll rename this node. And then I'm going to go to the input. And because we are working in a Resolve Color Manage workflow, we're going to make sure to set our source to DaVinci Resolve Wide Gamut / Intermediate. After that, I'm going to go to the Film tab, and we're going to use a Kodak Vision 3 250D film stock. You can use any of the Kodak Vision 3 film stocks to get a similar look. I'm going to go with the 250D because the 250D gives us this very nice cyan in the highlights that I like. After that, I'm going to go to the print, and I'm going to set the profile to Kodak 2383, and that's it for Dehancer. Now we're going to work in separate nodes within this beautiful color that Dehancer is now giving us, and we're only going to use 2 nodes. So I'm going to create 2 nodes. I'm going to rename the first one Balance, and this will be our primaries. Here we'll adjust our exposure, our white balance, and our saturation as needed, and here we'll adjust the look. Using Dehancer can be this simple. You don't need a lot of nodes because a lot of the stuff that you're going to use anyways, that you would use in separate nodes, it's already in Dehancer. Another thing I'm going to do in Dehancer is go ahead and turn off the film grain. Later on in the tutorial, we'll come in here and add some of these effects. So looking at this image, if we wanted this sort of nice grungy look, then we could probably leave it here or just fine tune a little bit, but we are going to adjust it. And I want to start by showing you this way to approach your exposure. So if we look at the image, we would say maybe it's a little dark, right? There's all this contrast and the image is sitting, sort of down here in the waveform. And instead of going into the exposure under the global HDR wheel, I'm going to go to the contrast. I'm just going to open up the shot and I'm going to remove contrast until I have my darkest point right here around 30 IRE. I'm going to decrease this a lot just to get the waveform out of the way. So I have these lines here on my waveform. And what these are reference levels that I've set, one for 50 IRE and one for 30 IRE. Basically, you can set these to help guide you for when you're choosing a black point for your color grades, specifically if you're trying to create filmic color grades. This top line here is set at 50 IRE. This will give you those nice dark gray blacks. 30 IRE will still give you some of those filmic blacks, but it'll allow you to crush your shadows a little bit more and create more contrast. And for this look, that's exactly what we're gonna do. So I'll just move this over here. The lowest point is past this 30 IRE line. So I'm going to grab the contrast and I'm just going to bring it back until the darkest part of the image is right on that line. And now look at our image. If I hit before and after, our image opens up a little bit and it looks a little brighter, but actually we haven't directly adjusted the exposure via an exposure adjustment. We've just decreased that contrast, and that creates the illusion of more light because we're seeing more details in the shot. From here, if I wanted to, or if you wanted to, or if you feel like you need it for your look, you could go ahead and increase and decrease the exposure. I'm liking this where it's at. One thing I will do is increase the saturation until I get some more color. And you can see that just by pushing it a little bit, we're already getting some nice pop in these reds. I might push it to 1.2. Yeah, I'm liking that right there. So in the balance node, we've decreased the contrast and we pushed the saturation a little bit just to get a little bit more color separation. Now let's move on to the look node. I'm loving this cool look that the 250D film profile is giving us. I'm just going to warm things up a little bit. So I'm going to go into my printer light buttons that I have on my keyboard, and I'm going to decrease blue. This is going to add yellow to the overall image and warm things up. And you can do the same thing by using the temperature control in the global wheel, which works photometrically, so the adjustment looks very natural. But just to keep things simple and show you guys that you can just use simple tools, I'm going to use the offset wheel. I'm just using my printer buttons on my keyboard. So I'll decrease blue a little bit. Maybe I'll come back. And here I'm just keeping an eye on my skin tones. If you notice, this blue that the 250D profile is adding to our image is really grabbing the skin tones and desaturating them. And that's perfect for this look. I want my character to really sit in this moody cyan that we've got in the shot. And so I'm gonna allow the skin tones to be a little desaturated, right? If I turn this on, we can see here the skin tones. Here it is before, and now they're sort of down here and a little bit spread out. And that's okay. That's going to help this character to sit in this sort of gloomy scene. So again, in the look node, we've just pushed a little bit of yellow, and that gives us some nice warmth in the highlights. And I might do a little bit more. And I'm liking that right there. Look at this nice red cyan color that we've got going on. Obviously the color in this shot is coming from the set design, right? We have this beautiful red here from this boxing ring and this nice blue, and then all these neutrals, which are just free open space for any color to be added. So all we've done is set these two film profiles. Dehancer is doing all the work for us, and then we adjust our primaries, we slightly adjust our look, and that's it, right? Now we can go in and adjust our effects, right? So I'm gonna add some film grain. I'm gonna go over to profile. I'm going to choose the 65mm ISO 50, and then I'm going to bring it down to around 3. This is going to give us a nice subtle texture in our image. If you wanted to adjust the grain a little bit more, you would choose whatever preset you'd like, and then you would go up to custom, and from there you can further customize the film grain. I'm going to go over to my halation, and I'm going to choose the 35mm Super 35mm no remjet preset. I'm going to hit enable, and then I'm going to zoom in here to my shot, particularly on these lights, sources here, and I'm just going to see how it's affecting our shot. And we can see we're just getting this nice warm glow around some of the edges. It's very subtle, and sometimes that's all you want. There are so many creative people out there that are taking this halation effect and creating a lot of cool new things with it. And it's pretty exciting to see what sort of things people come up with. But we're just trying to keep it simple here. I just want to show you how easy it can be to create a nice look with Dehancer. So we're just going to keep it like this. I might bring this down a little bit to around 60. Just to keep it a little bit more subtle. This halation not only adds this glow, it helps to, in some images, soften up the edges of things, which helps to create that texture that you get when you shoot on film. That's the formula that you can always follow with Dehancer, being informed by this fact that we are already familiar with these looks and we already categorize them in our minds as cinematic because we've just grown up with these color aesthetics so much that it's just this automatic process. From here, if you wanted to take this look further and create things like power windows or adjust your skin tones, this is how I would do it. For your power windows, I would do it before the look node. And then for your skin tones, I would do it before the power windows. Assuming you've got a good white balance going on here in the balance node, at this point in your pipeline, you'll have a clean signal with true skin tones coming in through this node. And here is where you can do your skin and come in here with the qualifier if you wanted to and select them and really take it further and do whatever you wanted to the skin tones. After that, you would do your power windows. If you wanted to do things like relight the scene, add vignettes, things like that. And this would be a nice, good, smooth workflow that would keep your shot looking healthy.